What's going on, my beautiful brothers and sisters? This is Astro Fenixx flying into the moment yet again and radiating love as always. And I just wanted to come on here and kind of an impromptu video. I literally just thought of this and I'm just going to go ahead and act on it because my motto going forward, and I was saying it was my motto for 2020, but I think it's going to be more so just my motto until I feel the need to change it. So it's not just going to be a 2020 thing. This thing is already starting right now, obviously, with this video and just even before, is to think less and do more. So I thought about making this video, and I'm just going to go ahead and make it right here on the spot. And I just wanted to talk about the spiritual community going forward and a lot of the changes that are going to be coming and our impact on the world. It's kind of interesting being a part of this community, and I think what's happening with a lot of individuals is that people have been waking up, people are becoming more aware of their impact on this reality, people are becoming more aware of their mental nature, their emotional nature, their physical nature, their spiritual nature. And we have to remember that all of these areas affect each other. Like the spiritual affects the emotional, the mental, the physical, and they all affect each other. And what we're seeing right now within the spiritual community is a bit of a discord. And I think that this is natural because as we awaken and as we come more into our true self, there's going to be a lot of checks and balances. There's going to be a lot of kind of walking through the mud. It's not going to just be clear off the bat. And we're seeing a lot of people becoming even disillusioned with individuals within the spiritual community because there's so much information out there right now. There's so much information out there right now, and it's honestly only going to get more and more and more. So trying to find ourselves within these clouds of thought, within these clouds of certain ideologies or just beliefs, the way that we look at the world, there's going to be some kind of sorting through everything. And, like I said, a lot of people have been waking up, and people have been waking up for all of humanity's existence. It doesn't happen at particular dates. There are particular dates that are certain pivot points, like, of course, the 2012 shift, and now this 2020 shift that we're about to going into the new decade and the Gregorian calendar. Of course, it's my belief that we're not even really functioning on the true year or the true time, because in my opinion, the true year, the true beginning of the year begins when we hit Aries season. So we're really going into the last quarter of the year. But as far as the Gregorian calendar goes, we are moving into 2020, which is still important. It's still important because, 2020, it's a massive shift. And I think right now what's happening within the spiritual community is that there are a lot of individuals that are very much so interested in the spiritual community. They're interested in astrology. They're interested in tarot. They're interested in numerology. They're interested in lucid dreaming and meditation, yoga. They're interested in eating better. They're interested in crystals. They're interested in creating their own symbols and sigils. They're interested in all these different things, but don't necessarily have the strength and the courage to continue to, become invested and to invest within themselves with these particular things that we use to practice and to expand upon this experience. And I think when it comes to this sort of work that people are doing, this is really inner work. There are a lot of individuals, myself included, that, perform services for people, whether it's astrology readings, tarot readings, or whatever have you, to help individuals reclaim their power. And I always tell people, I'm learning more about this stuff than probably I learn more with every single reading that I do. And I'm only telling people what their spirit already knows, it's just that their conscious mind has forgotten about it. I think the spiritual community right now is sort of up in flames because we got invested in this type of work because we sensed that there was something in the world that needed to change. We sensed that there had to be something more to this reality. So what did we do? We sought out these different practices. We sought out these different modes of thought and ideologies and beliefs that have been suppressed but have always been here. And a lot of people are kind of up in arms about what's going on because it's becoming its own religion in a sense. It's becoming like, if you're not always doing, if you're not meditating every day, or if you're not doing breath work, or if you haven't done like, shadow work, or if you don't have like at least 20 crystals on your person at any moment, then you're doing something wrong. Or if you're not doing rituals for every full and new moon, then you're not doing it right. And it's taking on this sort of dogmatism that is kind of running rampant throughout the community. But we have to remind ourselves that the reason why we woke up, or the reason why you woke up in the first place, is because you sensed that there was some discord, and you sensed that there was grand adventure beyond the current reality. Now we really can create reality any way that we see fit. I think it's preposterous that we think that society and reality has to continue chugging along the way that it's gone on, because we've invested so much time into it. We've invested so much energy into how things are right now. But this is a change that occurs from within. If you're getting involved in spirituality in whatever way you see fit and whatever really is in alignment for you, you have to understand that you are doing this for you. And ultimately we do affect each other, but this is an internal journey. This is not something that, we're doing necessarily for the people. I mean, we are. And I think we all, as humans, want to be a part of something. We all want to be a part of a community. And I think a lot of the people that are getting into the spiritual community, a lot of these people were those who might have felt ostracized when they were kids. They might have felt ostracized when they were in, primary school, when they were going through their primary years of schooling. These are probably individuals that had very, very vivid and lucid dreams. These are probably individuals that experienced magic, like actual, like true magic, when they were younger, and they didn't necessarily have this sort of base or structure to sort of make sense of all these things. So now you see a lot of individuals making videos on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. You're seeing all these different little communities pop up. Tarot readers, angel card readers, astrologers, numerologists, crystal healers, even like the song healers that use like those like cool like little drums and stuff like that, meditation drums. We're seeing all of these things come up now because we've realized that we have to create the platform, because the platform before was hidden, and it never went away. It never went away. Spirit never left. God never left. Jesus never left. Buddha never left. Krishna, these beings, these individuals, these powerful advisors never left. And they are that. They are advisors. They're not going to save you. They're not going to, protect you in the way that you want them to protect you. They're not going to do the work for you. They are advisors. And I think what's happened is that we have outsourced a great deal of our power within the spiritual community, thinking that these things are automatically going to heal us. And that's far from the truth. Just because you practice astrology, just because you practice numerology, just because you practice these different modes and these different practices and utilize these tools, because they're ultimately tools for our spiritual development, doesn't mean that it's just going to save you. There have been times where I've become disillusioned with spirituality, with astrology, wondering if I'm doing it right, wondering if I'm in accordance or in alignment with the particular transits. But you're always in alignment. It's just whether or not you like where you are, or like the line that you're standing in. We're all standing in some type of line. And alignment, of course, it's talking about getting our mind right. Mint, that's why it has mente in there. It's about getting our mind right, getting our mind to synchronize with this reality, because A lot of times our mind it's a powerful tool. This body that we have is our most powerful tool. It's not the cell phone that I'm recording this video on. It's not the computer that I'm going to upload this video on and edit with. It's not the cars that we drive. It's not all this great technology, the internet. It's this body. That's the greatest tool. And everything that we need is right here. We don't need any of this external stuff. It's great validation. It's the beautiful cherry on top, but it's not like, I think people, when they get into this community and stuff like that, they get excited, they're curious, they want to evolve, they want to grow, they want to connect with other people, and then they realize that these individuals, these practitioners, are human just like them, and they're looking for someone to save them. They're looking for a savior, and no one is going to be your savior. That's tough, because there are moments when we do feel weak. We do feel like we don't have the strength to move forward. And that's when, of course, having a community is great. But the spiritual community is changing fundamentally forever. We're moving into the age of Aquarius, guys. If not, we're already here. And Aquarius is about community, right? And by the time that Neptune leaves Pisces and officially ends this age of Pisces, when it goes into Aries, you're going to see a whole bunch of new things pop up. Because, Aries is about that initiation. It's that spark. It is the infant. It's just been born. And now it's out into the world seeing colors, and they're reacting and responding in the only way they know how, because they don't really have a base. And it's like, yeah, we all have multiple lives. We've all have lived multiple lives. We all have done this thing before. But you don't really know that when you're a baby. Not really. So getting into this sort of work is sort of like becoming a baby again. And we're going through the growing pains, the spiritual community, we're going through the growing pains of young childhood when it comes to exploring these topics once again. Because before, these sort of things were what the high priestesses and the high priest and the high mages interacted with. These were topics that the initiates and the secret society schools played with. But now it's becoming more widespread. Now just average people like you and me can access this knowledge and information. But what we're realizing is that you don't necessarily need a special qualification to be a spiritual practitioner. You don't need a special qualification to do something. Now, of course, there are people out there that may be better tarot readers than they are astrologers, or better at numerology, or better at creating crystal jewelry for people, or better at using music and art to convey these messages. But there's no per se special qualification. And I think that's weird in this world where we have to qualify everything. You have to be qualified. You have to have a degree to do something. You have to be qualified. So what makes me qualified to give a reading to somebody? What makes you qualified to give a reading to someone? What makes anybody qualified to tell somebody something about their spiritual journey and their destiny? What makes anyone qualified to do that? And then what's happening is that people are kind of waking up and realizing that we're here to share our gifts, and we can't, but we live in a society, of course, where we have to make money. Ain't nothing wrong with money. Ain't nothing wrong with it. I think a lot of people in the spiritual community are needing to heal their relationship with money, are needing to heal their relationship with success and being driven and purpose and career, and business, especially business. A lot of spiritual people suck at business. I'm not the greatest at business. I grew up in a family business, and it's in many ways is based off of this old model, and it worked and stuff like that. And I'm trying to help bring it into the new age and stuff like that with technology and stuff like that, social media and all that aspects. But we are healing our relationship with business, with money, with all this sort of stuff. But it will get to the point where we're not going to have really the need to benefit off of our gifts in a monetary way, when really it's about, do you love this work? Do you love this craft? Even when you're going through those nights where it's like the dark night of the soul. The dark night of the soul is not something that happens just once. it happens continuously. I think what people are realizing that when they get into this work, that they think that it's going to happen at the beginning or something like that. And then they wake up and everything's all hunky dory and everything's all beautiful and rainbows and sunshines and unicorns and narwhals. And then you realize that there's this interesting anxiety that comes up because it doesn't really go away. It doesn't really go away. Because you'll notice, like, you may have a really good day, or maybe a really good week, or a really good month, and then something comes up, and you're like, what the fuck? I thought I healed that. Or what the fuck? I thought doing this work was supposed to give me some sort of magical way out. It was supposed to give me some sort of magical manifestation. But there's a timing to all this. There's a timing to all this. We have all these energies in Capricorn about to go through these eclipses, you know? Age of Aquarius is here. The spiritual community moving forward is changing fundamentally forever. And I just want to caution people that if you're getting into this, you know, whatever expectations that you have of it, you kind of need to throw that out the fucking window. I know I had to. Yeah, this is daily work. This is daily practice. Whether you actually meditate daily or whatever, or you journal daily, or you doing your breath work daily, this is a daily thing, you know? This is a daily thing because what's happening is that we're having to deconstruct all of these preconceived notions on what it means to connect with spirit, what it means to connect with God, goddess, source, perspective, energy, and how we are realizing that it's not you don't need to be a priest to connect and talk to God, talk to goddess. Anybody can do that. There's no per se special qualification. But we want to feel special. We want to feel special. I think a lot of people that get into this community, they get into it because they want to feel like they're different than everyone else. But just because you're a part of a spiritual community or because you watch spiritual practitioners on YouTube or wherever you watch them, that doesn't mean that someone who doesn't watch that stuff isn't spiritual. That doesn't mean that the person that's working a regular job and then goes to the bar and has some drinks with their buddies and watches sports, it doesn't make them any less spiritual. It doesn't make them any less qualified to provide wisdom. But I think what happens is that we give sort of definition to what it means to be spiritual. And then anyone outside that definition, damn them, they don't know what they're doing. They're asleep. They're a drone. They're a robot. They don't get it. There's spirituality is supposed to be inclusive, not exclusive. And I think what's happening and what we're experiencing right now and why the spiritual community is up in arms is because it is breeding exclusivity, that only certain people are allowed in and that everyone else, they don't get it. You know, we got to teach them. We got to learn them. You know, we got to bring them up to speed. You got to bring yourself up to speed. You know, this is not about per se what everyone else is doing. This is about your journey. This is about what it means for you to come more into who you are. And as my father has said, the moment that you define something, it ceases to exist. And the reason why is because you cut it off from everything else. And then you create refraction. You create this bouncing off effect where something tries to come into your experience and teaches you. Spirit and God, goddess is trying to speak to you. But since you're like, oh, no, fuck that shit, you know? And it's good, of course, to set healthy boundaries. You know, boundaries is ruled by Scorpio, which is fixed water, you know? So it's like ice. But ice can melt, and water ultimately still flows. And we have to remind ourselves, too, when we say things like we're infinite beings and that we can't truly die, that seems like such a weird concept to a lot of people because they don't necessarily get it. But if there was nothing after this experience, Scorpio would be the last sign of the zodiac. It would be the last sign of the zodiac, but it's not. There's a whole 4 other signs that come after Scorpio. There's a whole 4 other signs that come after it. A whole other spectrum of the elements and expression of the elements. In Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. This is why these 4 signs are probably some of the least understood. Because in many ways, their consciousness, their spirit transcends death in a sense. Like they get it. They get that death is just transformation. They get that it's not the end all be all. But it's like when you get into this work, when you get into the spiritual community, there is a bit of a death. There's a death of the. I can't even recall my thought process before all this happened, which just happens to coincide when I met my wife. I met my wife during the 2012 shift. I met her during the 2012 shift. Has it been the easiest? No. We've had a lot of ups and downs, but shit, we've stuck through it with each other. And I couldn't have. She's been amazing. I love her so much. And it just happened to coincide with that. But I can't even recall how I used to think even before I met her. I can't recall it. There is a bit of a chemical shift within the brain. And we have to think about that too. With these different shifts and the way that the planets are moving and when we're engaging with this work, there are chemical shifts that happen. And I think a lot of people within the spiritual community, myself included, probably have some sort of chemical imbalance. Probably because we're realizing that there is some sort of discord here. There is some sort of discord. And it's causing us to like really question things, question our reality. I'm like, oh damn, are you saying my whole life was a lie? No, it wasn't a lie. It's just preparing you for this moment. Everything that's happened in your life has prepared you for this exact moment. And that's something that we really need to focus on. How something bad can happen to us, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're a bad person. That doesn't mean that the person that maybe did that to us or the experience doesn't mean that they're bad. It's just a part of the journey. I mean, have you ever read a book or watched a movie or watched a TV show where there was no conflict? It's boring. It's boring as fuck. I think people are trying to like come up with this whole like and the whole thing too about the whole death thing and then like going to like this magical fairy place paradise where nothing is wrong. Sorry, that gets boring after a while. Sorry, not sorry. It gets boring. This is my Scorpio energy coming out. I have Mars in Scorpio, so it gets pretty intense. Boring. I think we all have been to paradise or heaven at some point. But then we're like, I need to do something else. So I think what's happened is that like this sort of heaven that we've created as a society, realize that it's not all crapped up to be. There has to be some sort of change. There has to be something that happens. So there's like this splinter in the mind within a lot of people. But it's like, just know that if you're getting into this work and you're getting into spirituality, that there's not going to be one particular reading that somebody does on YouTube, or there's not going to be one particular thing that just sets it off and then you're just going to get everything. There are certainly light bulb moments, there are certainly epiphany moments, but it's not going to be one defining moment that's just going to heal all of your trauma and heal all of these loose ends that you have. There's not going to be some sort of miraculous like, all right, now you're good. You don't have to worry about doing shadow work anymore. You don't have to worry about doing the work anymore. You don't have to worry about doing your daily practice anymore because you're just good. I especially think, especially here in Western societies, or westernized societies, which is kind of interesting when you think about that. Western, if you think about the zodiac, you know, the West star, the West angel is Antares, right? It rules the West. And Antares is about the fall. And Antares is like this warrior who doesn't really give a fuck what you think. Doesn't really give a fuck what you think. But being that Antares is now in Sagittarius, Antares doesn't really give a fuck what you think or believe at this point. It is looking for truth. It's looking for purity, you know. And Antares began in Libra too. We gotta remember that Antares began in Libra, so it was about communication and what was just. Went through Scorpio, or if you're in Vedic, it still is in Scorpio, of course, which is this deep transformation that we're feeling too. And now we got it over here in Sag. So it's like I think people when they get into this work, like that, in these westernized worlds especially, there's something that we seem to not really get that some of these other more humble societies get, where it's just like this is life, and we overcomplicate shit. We really overcomplicate things. That's why it's important to take time for self. It is important to take time to meditate and to come back into our own space. Right now, we especially here in the spiritual community, there's a lot of chaos, and rightfully so, because like I said, we're in the infancy of the age of Aquarius. You gotta think there are timelines and sections within timelines. So even though we're moving into the age of Aquarius, we're like in like the Aries like part of the age of Aquarius, or you can even say Pisces like part because it's technically like the last signs. If you think about it, like the precession of the equinoxes and whatever like that, and if we're moving to the age of Aquarius, we're gonna be more towards the higher degrees of it. But you could think about it since it's like we're in our infancy, we're sort of like a baby when it comes to this sort of stuff. We're relearning how to connect with each other. We're relearning how to connect with ourselves. And so don't be alarmed if there is some strife. Don't be alarmed if there is some sort of internal battle. And don't be alarmed if you come into this work and you're not healed immediately. And if you're not I know people may resonate with different readers and all that stuff like that. People may have favorite readers. People may be like, oh well, they're a narcissistic, sociopath, whatever like that, blah 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 blah. We love to throw that shit around. We love to throw around words like that when somebody doesn't agree with us or we don't resonate with someone, which resonate is becoming a bit of a toxic word in of itself too. Because people don't really get what it means. Because you're always resonating with whatever experience that you have. And that may be hard to hear because you may like, well, I don't like this. Change it. You can change it. It doesn't have to stay that way forever. Nothing truly stays the same way forever. The planets that we follow, the stars, whatever like that, they won't be there forever. And then it's like, well, shit, then what do I look to for symbols? What do I look to for wisdom? If these things don't last forever. Right in there. There's not going to be some sort of magic pill that you take by coming into this work, by coming into this community. It's just going to heal everything. You're just going to get everything. And you're going to make $1 million. You may make $1 million. You may get a lot. You may heal a lot, but it's a daily thing. It's everlasting. It will continue to move forward. No matter what you think, how you feel, how you try and legitimize things or illegitimize things, it will always move forward, this experience, this journey. And it's indiscriminate. It doesn't care who you are. Doesn't care if you're a good person or a bad person. If you believe in hell, bad people aren't going to be in hell forever. Or good people won't even be in heaven forever. That's boring as shit. That's boring as shit, guys, okay? Trust me, I've been to hell. I've been to the underworld. Or the space and location that people refer to as. I personally feel like hell is a state of mind, and that the underworld is more like a place. Personally, seemingly wish I think that heaven is a state of mind, and paradise is it could be like an actual space, a location. But no one stays in these areas forever. When you get into this work, when you're getting into the spiritual community, you gotta understand that it's going to become more and more and more. And then because it's going to become more and more, people who feel like they need to feel special are going to try and create even smaller groups and smaller factions. And, if we do this from an unconscious state, and we're doing it just for the sake of being different, we're fucking ourselves over. But if we're doing it because we find people within the community that are like family to us, then that's a lot more natural. That is far more natural. Everything is changing fundamentally forever. It's changing fundamentally forever. So it's like, if you're really going to be about it and get into this shit, you gotta know what you're signing up for. And you've already signed up for it because you're here, you're alive, you're breathing, you're watching this, right? You already signed up for it. Things are fundamentally changing. And in a good way, in a positive way, and in a more uplifting and exalted way. But that doesn't mean that we aren't going to go through the growing pains. Right now, we are going through the growing pains of this spiritual enlightenment, of this spiritual upheaval. That's what it is. It is a spiritual upheaval. Upheaval doesn't always feel good, right? It's like when I try and pick up my cat. He doesn't like to be picked up all the time, right? Sometimes he's okay with me picking him up, but he doesn't like me picking him up all the time. So it's like we're kicking and screaming because Spirit is trying to pick us up. And we're like clawing at Spirit, whatever like that. Spirit, doesn't really necessarily care for clawing and screaming at it. And when we kind of learn to just chill out and calm down and not overcomplicate things, we'll see that we are meant to be picked up and why we're being picked up. And that we are ready to be picked up. We are ready to be upheaved. Is that even a word? We're ready for this upheaval. That's why it's happening. We're ready for it. Like I said, if you're getting into this work, know what you're signing up for. Know who you're communicating with. Of course, set the right boundaries. Do the work. Do the meditations. But don't think that it's just going to... Don't think that you're just going to be healed overnight. Something like that. And don't outsource your power, too. Don't outsource your power. If quote unquote negative transits happening in the astrology, doesn't mean that you have to react negatively just because that aspect is happening. Or just because you're drawing tarot cards and you get the 3 of Swords or the 9 of Swords or you get the Death card or the Tower card, doesn't per se mean that something bad is going to happen. It can be an indication of an energy that you're coming from. It can be an indication of what is to come. It can be an indication of where you are, but that doesn't mean that you're suddenly going to have a bad day. So don't outsource your power. Utilize these tools, but don't outsource your power to these tools, because then they become your masters. They become your masters. And then you give away your power. You give away your true self. So I'm still going to, of course, practice astrology and use tarot cards and numerology and crystals and burn sage, whatever like that, meditate. And another thing about meditation is that meditation is quieting the mind. It's getting the mind in alignment. That's really what meditation is. So it looks differently for everyone. You don't have to just sit down, Indian style with your eyes closed. You can meditate by just sitting on a bench in the park and just watching nature. Or you can meditate by playing video games. Or you can meditate by dancing or painting. You can meditate by having a really good conversation with somebody. You can meditate by just taking a breather. You can meditate by eating. There's so many ways to do this thing. It's not one particular way to do it. There really isn't. You can meditate by drinking a glass of water and doing so consciously and aware and acknowledging how it makes your body feel. That can be a meditation, right? And you can read anything. There are symbols and signs everywhere. Our guides are talking to us. Goddess is talking to us. So yeah, it's like people, especially when they first get into it, they get excited because they start seeing synchronicities. They're everywhere. 1111, 444, 1212. They start seeing all these different synchronicities and they get excited. But they're just telling you where you are right now. It can mean something more if you want to give it more. It potentially complicate it, but then don't get upset if you see 1111 and then you fail your math test. You're like, oh, I saw that synchronicity. I thought that meant I was good. No, it just means that you're aware. It means that you aren't shut off from the totality of this experience. That's all it means. That's all it means. So I really do feel like the spiritual community, there's this upheaval in that we're going through a massive shift right now, rightfully so. And it is for the better because we're going to see more and more people joining to this community. And we're never going to see people try and carve out their niche and want to feel special. Everyone wants to feel so fucking special. Everyone wants a participation trophy. Everyone wants a participation trophy. But when you get into the spiritual work, there's really, there are participation trophies in a sense, but in a sense, not really. In a sense, not really. Because you actually got to do the work. You actually got to do the work. Yeah, sometimes you're going to come in 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th place. Sometimes you're going to come in 50th place. Sometimes you're going to come in 2nd place 5 times in a row, and you're going to be pissed. Why can't you win the fucking championship? You keep making it to the championship game, but you can't seem to break through. Like a lot of people are feeling that energy, myself included. That's why I got a little intense there. But don't get caught up on that. Don't get caught up on that energy. Don't get caught up on where you're trying to place. This is not a race. This is not a fucking race. This is not a fucking race. It's a marathon. Life is a marathon. I love you all so much. I hope that you guys got anything out of this. If take what works, leave what doesn't. I just want to just kind of give my ideas and thoughts and feelings on where the spiritual community is right now. And there is a sort of upheaval that's happening right now. And, it's a good thing. I don't see it as a bad thing at all. I think it's a good thing. A part of me likes chaos. A great part of me likes chaos. How we can learn how to thrive in the chaos. If you look out in nature, it seems rather chaotic, right? But it works, and it's beautiful, and it's connected. And if we look out if you look out at space, we have freaking planets getting, we have stars ripping each other apart, and we have atoms being torn apart and coming together in these massive creative explosions and all of this craziness. And then we have this beautiful earth that we, in many ways, kind of function as a sort of womb and a shielding to all of that, but it doesn't mean that we're not affected by it. And I think there is this interesting sense of security that we have by being here, and I do believe that it is protecting us, this earth, in a very beautiful way. We definitely have to get back to this earth and protect it back, though. Just like a mom protects her children, but then it gets to the point where the children grow up and they protect their mom. They have to protect their mom. Girls that are old enough, they're wise now, and they have the strength to protect them. I think we as a humanity, Earth has been protecting us, and now we need to protect her. And that's going to come through that internal work and acknowledging our part in this and realizing that we don't necessarily need a grand stage to do something to make a difference. We can make a difference from where we are right now. And the impact of that difference is probably a lot greater than we think. I love you all so much. Y'all take care, stay blessed, and stay tuned. I probably will be doing the Astrology is Now podcast. I know I didn't make any last week, but I'm probably going to be making one later on this evening. But I love you all so much. Y'all take care, stay blessed, and I will see you all on the next video.